Hello everyone, my name is Izuddin Osman from Vix Metak Computer Training Center Malaysia, and in this tutorial we are going to try to build this Revit structure. Okay, as you can see right now on my screen, this is the Revit project structure which I've created earlier, and we are going to rebuild or recreate back this particular project by using the dimensions given on this particular component. Okay, so we are going to build its pillars or columns. Okay, its ground beam. Okay, first we are going to start in building its column, okay, with a specified measurement, and secondly we are going to build its ground beam along with its stump. Okay, and after that we are going to create its footing. Okay, and lastly we are going to create its roof beam. Okay, so if I were to go on the SGF level over here, so I can see those are the grids which we need to create first. Okay, so if I were to measure this, the measurement between each grid is around 4000 mm. So I can click under annotate, and then I can click under dimension align, so I can measure from here to here, and you can see the measurement is actually 4000 mm in distance between each of the grid. Okay, along with this particular porch area over here is also around 4000 mm. I think this one is a little bit less. Okay, is around 3000 mm. Okay, so those are the measurements, and we need to create its corresponding levels as well. So if I were to double click under east elevation, okay, I can see the levels, okay, which we need to create while doing this Revit structure project. Okay, so we are definitely going to refer to this project while recreating the Revit project file, okay, for structure. Okay, so I'm just going to close this file first. Okay, I'm going to click file and close. And do you want to save the Revit changes? No, so I just click no first over here. Okay, so whenever you want to start up a new Revit structure file, okay, we always need to click under structural template. Okay, so we need to click this structural template, okay, to create a fresh new file for our Revit project structure. Okay, and okay, of course I will make sure my units is in millimeters by clicking the manage tab on top. Okay, and then I'm going to click this button project units. So when I click this button project units, so I just click under length over here, just make sure that it is in millimeters. Okay, and then I click on OK after that. Okay, and for area, so I'm going to click on this button and choose square meter. So I'm going to choose square meter over here. For volume, I'm going to click on this button and I'm going to choose cubic meter, and then I'm going to click on OK. Alright, so for angle and slope, right, so we are just going to maintain using decimal degree. Okay, so like stated over here, and then I'm going to click on OK after that. So this is my fresh new file, fresh new project, okay, which I'm going to reopen back the Revit structure which I've created earlier, okay, for this particular project as my reference, because I really want to see its dimension and its parameters, okay, under this project. Okay, so first things first, if we go to the structural plan under SGF level, right, so we need to create this grid first. Okay, we need to create this grid. There are 5 vertical grids indicated here and 4 horizontal grids. Okay, so I'm going to click this on my level 2 over here. Okay, okay, so I'm just going to close this one first. Okay, just reopen it again, because I just want to make sure it's the file for my Revit structure one is sitting right beside my new file. Okay, so this is my previous file which I've created earlier. Okay, and this one is my new file. Okay, so there are 5 vertical grids which we need to create. Okay, under structural plan. Okay, but before that, I'm just going to go to my east elevation just to see my levels, right? So I'm just going to select this one level, okay, and just make it shorter by clicking and dragging the line. Okay, select this line and just make it a little bit shorter like this. Okay, and for my level 1 is 0. My level 2, I'm going to make sure it's the dimension is 3000. Okay, double click on its parameter over here, type 3000 and press enter. Okay, so I'm just going back to my previous file. So as you can see, these are the settings, okay, which I need to create the level first, and after that I'm going to create the grids. Okay, so I'm going to go to my east elevation over here, so just make it shorter a little bit. Okay, so I double click under this level 1. I can rename it as S ground level. So I'm going to type S ground level. So S stands for structure. So after you have typed it, you can just press enter, click yes. Okay, so I'm going to match with this on my previous file. So I got my S ground level already on level 0. Okay, something like that. Okay, and I'm going to create another one called SGF level. So I'm going to click under the structure tab. Okay, and I'm going to click on this button called level to add a new level. So I click level, this button level, under the structure tab. Okay, so I click level, right, and then I just try to click somewhere over here and click somewhere over there. Okay, press escape, right? I press escape, and I would name this as SGF level. So double click on its name, and I'm going to type SGF level and press enter, and then I'm going to click yes. So the parameter or the distance is actually 300 mm. Okay, so I'm going to double click on its parameter over here, type 300. So when you type 300, right, when you want to input the new distance, okay, by typing 300, press enter. So you can see the labels will be overlapping each other. So you need to select the label again and click the elbow button over here. So I'm going to click this elbow button over there to add an elbow, so that I can easily elevate the label, so that the label will not be overlapping each other. So I'm just going to adjust back on its elbow, okay, by adding a new elbow, just like I've created on this particular Revit project. Alright, I think it's kind of longer a little bit, so I'm just going to make it a little bit longer. Okay, SGF level, and after SGF level is S roof beam level, which is 3,300 mm in height. So I'm going to double click on this label over here. Okay, I'm going to type 3,300, press enter. So on its name, right, I'm just going to double click on its name, okay, and I'm just going to type S roof beam level, and then I press enter, and then I click on yes. Okay, so I got my labels already. Okay, just like in my previous project. Okay, there's another level which you need to create called the S footing level. Okay, which is sitting 750 mm below S ground level. Okay, so it is named as S footing level, so you need to create one more level. So I'm going to click back the structure tab, and then I'm going to click on this level button, and I'm going to create one more level. Okay, let's see here. All right, until here. Okay, and then I press escape several times and double click on its name. Right, I'm going to name it back as S footing level. Okay, and then I press enter, and then I click on yes, and then I double click on its parameter, and then I just input negative 750 mm. So because it is located 750 mm below S ground level. So I got all my levels ready like this. So now I just need to create the grid. Okay, the grid. Okay, so if I were to go to my previous project of my Revit structure, okay, so I will double click on its SGF level first. So I need to create 5 vertical grids, okay, and 4 horizontal grids. So the vertical one, we will name it as structure 1, structure 2, structure 3, structure 4, and structure 5. For the horizontal grid, we are going to name it as structure A, structure B, C, and D. Okay, so I'm going to build it right now. Okay, so I'm just double clicking on SGF level. Okay, okay, double clicking on SGF level over on my new file over there. Okay, so I'm going to click on the structure tab, and I'm going to click grid, right? So I'm going to click grid, and I'll draw the first vertical grid like this. Okay, and I'll make sure it's 4000 mm apart from one grid to another. Is 4000 mm in distance. Okay, for the 5th grid, right, is the distance is around 3000 mm. Okay, and press escape. Okay, of course you can select this one of the grid and you can make it shorter a little bit like this. Okay, and you can rename back its label by double clicking on its number. Okay, so I can just type S-1. Okay, over here I double click and I'll type S-2. Double click over here, I type S-3, and double click over here, I type S-4, and double click over here, I type S-5. Okay, so it is okay if you accidentally draw it wrongly, as in a sense that you've made the location of the grid, the distance is different. You can re-enter back its distance by clicking one of the grid. So I can click on this parameter, right, to edit back its distance length. So if I were to type 3000, so it'll update and relocate back the location of my grid. So if, let's say, you input the distance wrongly, you can of course click on one of the grid, okay, and click on its dimension parameter down there and type 3000. So it'll just auto adjust back everything. So I can click over here Type 3000, press enter. Okay, but the distance is actually set to 4000 actually. So type 4000 again. So this grid also, I click on its parameter over here. I type 4000. Type 4000 and then I press enter. Type 4000. Okay, so this one also, make sure it's 4000. This one also is 4000. So or I can just select one of the grid and click and drag until it reaches to 4000. So you can select one of the grid and then I can also click and drag the grid so it reaches to exactly 4000. Okay, so when you click on the grid, the parameter of the dimension will show its length. So just make sure it's 4000 in between the distance between the grids. But for the distance for S4 and S5 is 3000. Okay, it's 3000. Okay, and now we are going to create the horizontal grid by clicking on the structure tab, right? Click on the structure tab and click on the grid button over here and draw the first grid, horizontal grid. Okay, press escape so I can quickly check. Okay, this one is all 4000 mm in distance, so I'm just going to click grid. Okay, just make sure it's 4000 mm apart. Okay, okay, press escape 2-3 times and I can of course double click on its parameter over here and change it to SA, structure A. Okay, double click over here, structure B. Double click over here for my structure C. Okay, and then I double click over here for my structure D. Okay, and of course you can click outside or you can press enter. Okay, once you have adjusted on its label. So I got my labels already. So when I go to my east elevation, it's going to look something like that. Okay, I'll just make this grid longer for my east elevation levels, and of course I can select this and I can move it here. Okay, so that it is very close to the grid levels. Okay, so I can make this one longer. I can also make this one also longer, so it's going to look something like that. Okay, just the same with my previous project. Okay, something like that. Okay, alright, so I'm going to go back to my SGF level. Alright, so I'm going to rearrange back this one. This one should be higher. Okay, should be higher a little bit like this. Okay, so if I go to my east elevation, it's going to look something like that. When I go to my SGF level, it's going to look something like that. So now it's going to look respective to each other. Okay, so when I double click SGF level, it's going to look something like that. Okay, okay, as you can see, right, we are going to create on its column first. Okay, and its column is actually the the size is actually, if we look on its properties, this is 150 mm by 150 mm. Okay, and we must first create the columns, right, on SGF level. So I'm going back to my file, okay, over here. So this is my new file actually. Okay, and I'm going to make sure I double click SGF level, and I'm going to click this structure tab, right, and I'm going to click on this button, column, structural column. So I'm going to click this button first, okay, and of course you can open up this and you can choose from its list. Okay, I can practically choose anything first, because after that I'm going to edit its dimension. Okay, so I'm just going to choose concrete rectangular column, anything. Okay, anything also can do. Okay, okay, let's say I choose 24 inches by 30 inches column over here. Okay, concrete rectangular column, and I'm going to click on edit type, and I'm going to click on duplicate. Okay, and I'm just going to rename it as 150 mm, because the dimension, we are going to input a new dimension for the column 150 mm. Okay, so I've named it with a new name already. Now I'm just going to change its dimension. So here the dimension, I'm going to put 150. Okay, over on its base. This one also, the height is going to be 150 as well. Okay, and then I'm going to click on OK. After that, I'm going to click on OK, and I'm going to place it over here. Okay, like this, on each of the grid point. Okay, so I'm going to click there, I'm going to click there. So I'm not going to do for the porch area, okay, because on the porch area we are going to use a bigger type of column. Okay, so I'm just clicking on its grid point. Okay, as you can see over on my screen right now. Okay, so I'm just going to click directly on the intersection of each grid, or the grid point. Okay, so and then after that I'm going to press escape 2-3 times. I'm going to press escape. So if you want to see what's going on your 3D view, you can click this 3D home button on top. Okay, and you can see what's going on there. So you can see it's very short, okay, because I did not specify its height. Okay, so I undo it first. So I click undo. So it's going to eliminate back all the columns which I did. Okay, so I just double click back on my SGF level. So when I click on this button, column, right, so I already create a new design for my column, which is 150 mm by 150 mm. So I'm just going to adjust on its height. Okay, so I'm choose its height, right, and the height must be touching its S roof beam level. So I'm just specifying here first, then only I will click on the grid point. Okay, so I'm going to click one grid point by one grid point, like how I'm doing it. Okay, so I'm not going to do for the S5 grid, because the S5 grid is representing the porch area, and we need to use a bigger column size. So we are going to do it later. Okay, but now we are just going to do for the columns inside the building. Okay, and if you have done it, you can press escape 2-3 times and click on the 3D button on top. So you can see those are the columns which I've created. And when I open up this button, if I were to choose consistent colors, it's going to look like that. If I were to choose shaded, it's going to look something like that. If I choose visual style realistic, it's going to look something like that. Okay, so I'm just going to choose consistent color over here. Okay, as you can see over here, right, okay, So for the porch area column, right, the column is actually a little bit bigger. When I click over on this column over here, you can see that the column is sized 250 mm by 250 mm. So I'm going to click back my file over here. Okay, and I'm going to click on my S ground level, right? Because the column for the porch is sitting or is located on the S ground level. So I'm going to double click on S ground level first. Okay, and I'm going to click on the structure tab. Still I'm using column. Okay, still I'm using column, but I'm going to click on this button edit type because I'm going to make the dimension a little bit bigger. So I'm going to click on edit type, and of course you have to click on this button duplicate. Click on this button duplicate, and you should name it as 250 mm. Okay, and then you click on OK. So this one you type 250, and then you click on this one, you type 250. Okay, and then you have to click on OK. Click on OK. All right, and make sure, right, for this particular concrete rectangular column, the height is set to S roof beam level. Okay, make sure you are on your S ground level while doing this. So double click S ground level, make sure you are on your S ground level, click back column. Okay, set your height to become S roof beam level, and click over on this side. Okay, and then you can press escape 2-3 times, and then you can click the 3D home button on top to see the 3D view of your structure. Okay, so we've just created the column, and you can see the bigger column is sitting a little bit lower than the smaller columns, because this column is originated from the S ground level, whereas the smaller columns is originated from the SGF level. So this bigger column is sitting slightly below. Okay, now I'm going to create on its ground beam. Okay, you are trying to create the ground beam right now. Okay, which is this. You are going to create this actually. This is what we call as the ground beam. Okay, structural beams, but this is for the ground beams, and the measurement is 200 by 400 mm. So if I were to click on edit type, I can really see the measurement for the base, and its height is 200 base, height is 400. Okay, it's 200 by 400 mm. So I'm going to make sure I do it on the SGF level first. Okay, so I double click SGF level first. Okay, for my new project. Okay, and then I'm going to click on its the button which is beam, structural framing beam. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is for the ground beam. So I'm just going to make sure I double click on SGF level before I attempt to click on this structure beam button over here. Okay, and then I'm going to open up this, and I'm going to choose anything. You can choose anything. Anything can do, or anything will do. So let's say I choose concrete rectangular beam 16 inches by 32 inches. Okay, so after that I'm going to click on edit type to change its dimension. So I'm going to click on edit type, and the base I'm going to change it to 200, and the height I'm going to change it to 400. But before that, you need to duplicate it first. Click on the button duplicate, and you need to type in its name. Okay, which is 200 by 400 mm. Okay, and then I click on OK. So its base, right, I'm going to change it to 200, and the height I'm going to change it to 400. Press enter, click on OK. So notice on my properties, right, it's already changed to my new customized rectangular beam, okay, with a new measurement. Okay, and I'm going to click it on the grid points like this, click, and I'm going to click over on this grid point, over on this grid point, over on this grid point. Okay, so I'm going to do for this part first. Okay, so you have to click one point to another point like this. Okay, after you have completed the loop, okay, you can press escape 2-3 times. Okay, and click back the button structure beam. Okay, and you can do for the horizontal part first. Click here, click one grid point to another grid point to another grid point to another grid point, and press escape 2-3 times. Okay, click the structure tab, click the beam, right? Do for the vertical points first. Okay, press escape 2-3 times, click beam, and okay, press escape 2-3 times. So I actually missed out this SC grid over here. Okay, which I need to do it. This one horizontal grid for my ground beam. Okay, and press escape, press escape. Okay, so if you want to see the 3D perspective view, you can always click the 3D home button on top. Okay, and you can see it, and you can turn it around like this. Okay, to see what's going on. Okay, okay, now I'm going to do for the porch area, right? So I would have to double click on my S ground level first. Okay, I double click on my S ground level first because I want to do for the porch area, and I'm going to click on the beam button over here and try to do it over on this side. Okay, and then I press escape 2-3 times, click this button beam again, and click this point to this point, and press escape 2-3 times, and click the 3D home button on top. Okay, so notice that the ground beam for the porch area is sitting slightly below the SGF level or the S ground floor level. Okay, so you should have created something like this. Okay, next you need to actually create for its stump. This is what we call a stump. Okay, and after creating its stump, you need to create its footing. Okay, based on the dimension given on the previous project. So on the previous project, right, the stump is actually the dimension is 250 mm. Okay, it's 250 mm using concrete rectangular column. Okay, so now we are going to do for its stump. Okay, so I will go to my SGF level first. Okay, using my new file. Okay, using my new file. So I double click on my SGF level. Okay, so if you want to create stump, right, you would have to still use the structure column, right, structural column. Okay, so I'm going to click structural column. Still I'm using the concrete rectangular column 250 mm. Okay, but I'm just going to change its depth to S footing. Okay, I'm just going to change its depth to S footing. Okay, and I'm going to place it one by one on the grid point like how I'm doing it right now. Okay, so I'm placing it one by one for my stump. Okay, So now I'm doing for this part. Okay, for this, and the last part is over here. Okay, and then I press escape 2-3 times, right, and click on the 3D home button on top just to check whether my stump is correctly placed or not. And my Revit now is asking for me to save the project first, so I click on this button, save the project. Okay, I will save as Revit structure tutorial. Okay, and 2024. Alright, so I'm going to save it first. Okay, okay, so I'm just going to 3D orbit this particular design to see whether all the stumps are properly located. Okay, so I don't want to miss out any stump. Okay, okay, now we are going to do the stump, right, for the porch area. Okay, and of course you have to double click S ground level first, and you need to click on its beam, structure beam. Just make sure that structure beam, right, oh sorry, not structure beam. Okay, structure column. Okay, structure column, still we are using column. Just make sure that its depth is going to be S footing. Okay, S footing level, and just place the stump here. Okay, okay, and press escape 2-3 times and click on the 3D home button on top, and you can see the stump is properly placed there. Okay, and now we are going to do for its footing. Okay, this is what we call as footing, and its dimension is actually 600 mm by 600 mm with 200 mm as its foundation thickness. Okay, which you need to draw it or design it under your S footing level. Okay, you need to do it under your S footing level. So I would have to click S footing level first. So I double click S footing level first. Okay. Okay, notice when you double click S footing level, right, you can't really see your ground beams, okay, or your stump and everything. Okay, you may click under view range, right, click under edit button over here, and you can choose the range to become unlimited, okay, to actually see other components while viewing on S footing level. Okay, I can also change under its underlay. So underlay base level is S footing level, and range top level is maybe I choose SGF level, and underlay orientation, let's say lookup. So when I click apply, you can see I can even see other components, okay, on my Revit project structure, okay, while being under S footing. Okay, so I'm going to double click S footing, and I'm going to click on this button under structure tab called isolated, structural foundation isolated. This is actually for your footing. Okay, so I click isolated button over here, And I'm just going to choose whichever footing that you want. Let's say I'm choosing footing rectangular 96 inches, and then I'm going to click edit type, and then I'm going to duplicate it, and then I'm going to name it as 600 mm. Okay, and click on OK. Whereas the foundation thickness, I would input it as 200, and its width and length is 600 by 600. And then you can click on OK and quickly place it on each of the grid point. Okay, you can quickly place it on each of the grid point like this. Okay, on all of the grid points. You can place it on all of the grid points. Including for the porch area. Okay, and you can press escape 2-3 times, and you can click back the 3D house button on top, and you'll get something like this. Okay, next is you need to create for its roof beam. Okay, structural roof beam. So in this particular roof beam, you need to be on your S roof beam level first. So I double click on S roof beam level first. Okay, notice that under S roof beam level, okay, you are actually on the most top level of your project. Okay, and you need to actually use the beam, structure beam over here. So we are just going to maintain using the 200 by 400 mm over here, and you have to click one grid point to one grid point. Okay, like this, to create the roof beam. So I'm just going to create for the outer part first. I'm clicking one grid point per one grid point and press escape 2-3 times, and then click the beam button again, and I'm doing for the vertical part. Okay, and press escape 2-3 times, click the beam button again. Okay, and I'm going to draw it again over here. Okay, and press escape 2-3 times, click the beam button and click over here for my horizontal. Okay, press escape 2-3 times, click the beam button again for my horizontal grid over here. Okay, press escape 2-3 times. Now I'm doing for the porch area, so click beam and trying to do for the porch area over here. Press escape. After that, click beam and do for this part. Okay, and press escape 2-3 times and click the 3D house button on top. So you get something like this. Okay, but of course you need to create the structural floor slab, okay, for each of the rectangle. Okay, which you need to be on the specific level first in doing that. Okay, like if I want to do for the ground floor level, I should be on my SGF level first. So I can double click SGF level, and I can click under structure. There is a button called floor structural. Okay, floor structural, and I can click on this particular rectangle. Okay, and click from one grid point to another grid point like this. Okay, to create like one floor. And of course you can change its properties if you want to use generic 12 inches or generic 6 inches. You can choose under its properties. Let's say I'm just choosing generic 12 inches, and then I click this green tick button over there to finalize, and you need to click the 3D house button on top. Okay, just to see what's going on, whether it's okay or not. Okay, so of course I can select this floor, and I can change its properties to other types of floor. Okay, now I'm choosing 6 inches concrete. Okay, let me just undo this first. Okay, because I want to using a different type of floor. Okay, so I go to SGF level, so I'll go to floor and I choose floor structural. Okay, but I'll just use the generic 6 inches concrete. Okay, I click on the rectangle. Okay, and this time I will target inside. Okay, somewhere inside here. Okay, and press escape 2-3 times, and then I click the green tick button, and then I click the 3D house button. Okay, and I go to SGF level again and redo it again. So click floor, right? Floor. Okay, and I'll just click rectangle. Just click one grid point to another. Okay, click the green tick button. So I got a new set of floor. And you should repeat all the steps for all of the rectangle part over here. Okay, so I just do another one. So go to SGF level. So I'm just repeating the steps by clicking on the floor structural. Okay, and I click on this rectangle. Okay, and then I click on this grid point and click on the green tick. Okay, and I just repeat back its steps. Go to structure, go to floor, and click the rectangle button. Click on the green tick. Okay, click on the structure, click on the floor button, click on the rectangle button. Click on the green tick. Okay, click on the structure, click on the floor, click on the rectangle. Click on the green tick. So I'm just repeating back the button floor. Okay, and trying to create another floor over here. Okay, so I'm just trying to create the floor slab structural, okay, on my ground level. So I should double click my S ground level first. Okay, and click on the floor button and try to use my rectangle and cover this area. Click on the green tick. Okay, and go to structure, go to floor. Okay, click on rectangle. click on this point to this point, okay, and click on the green tick. Okay, and there you have it, a complete Revit structure project, okay, including the columns, alright, the ground beam, okay, the stump, the footing, and the roof beam structure. Okay, and let's say if you wish to join our Revit certificate course, right? Okay, this Revit certificate course is actually conducted by us, by B.E.E Computer Training Center of Malaysia. And if you would like to join our Autodesk Revit certificate course, okay, you can just click on the website link, which is below this video presentation. There is a website link that will bring to you to our official website, which is www.vixmatech.com. So inside the website contains our phone number and everything. You can of course WhatsApp to us for inquiries, or if you want to register. Okay, and another thing is we want to share with you is our certificate is actually recognized by the CIDB Malaysia, or the full name is Lembaga Pembangunan Industri Pembinaan Malaysia. Okay, our certificate is actually recognized by the government of Malaysia. So if you are interested, don't hesitate to WhatsApp us or to call us for inquiries. My name is Izuddin Osman from B.E.E Computer Training Center, and thank you so much for taking time to watch our tutorial and to learn something. Okay, take care. Bye.